Hey guys, we're going to do a quick video on how to set up the level 1 rapid infuser, and we'll also talk about when to use it and a couple of other things. So the level 1 rapid infuser that we have, the first one we should use is the one with the air leak detector, which is this one right here. And they both look kind of the same, but I think one of the ones you have does not have the air leak detector. Either way, they work. There's two reasons why you would use this level 1. One of them, of course, is for rapid infusing of blood and fluids, and the other one is to use it as a warmer. We have other warmers in the hospital, but if you're in the emergency room, you probably are going to use this one because it's the one that you're going to be more familiar with. But we do have other options if you just want to use warming. This should only be used really on patients that are in real shock. So some of your sepsis patients that have a MAP of less than 65 and their systolic is less than 90, and you need to give them your 3 liters of fluids. If they're stable, if they are just not actively dying, you can use a pressure bag. If the patient is just shocky and just looks, pale and they're cold, you probably want to give them warm fluids when you give that initial bolus. To set up the level 1, it actually has little numbers on the machine that tell you which step goes first. And so we'll look at those numbers right now. The first number, the number 1 is right here. And number 2 is right there. Number 3 is down here, all the way under this thing. It's hidden. And then number 4 is right there. And notice that 3 is actually past the 4, and I'll explain why in a minute. It has to do with the sensitivity of the machine. Before you get ready, make sure that you're using it on the right patient that has the right kind of access. If the patient only has 20 gauges, unless you're using this for warming, you're not going to get much fluids in them very much faster than a pressure bag. So if your patient only has 20 gauges, you might as well just use a pressure bag. If they have an 18 gauge or anything bigger than that, 16 or 14 gauge is even better. Then you're going to be able to infuse about 1 liter in 2.5 minutes if they have something bigger than an 18. If the patient has just a regular central line, like a triple lumen central line, that is not a good option for this machine. Those are usually about the same size as a 20 gauge each lumen. So unless you have a large bore central line or a cordis, it's a regular traditional triple lumen. It's not really gonna infuse them that much faster. You can run anything through this machine except for platelets. You don't want to run platelets because this does have a filter, and the platelets will clog up the system in a second, and you'll have to throw it away. Blood, fluids, plasma, some fluids with bicarb, something that you have to infuse really fast, you can give through this, but no platelets. That's the only thing. The tubing, how long you think is good for? How many units of blood you're thinking that you can give? Well, actually, you can give unlimited number of blood and fluids through one set of tubing, but it's only good for 4 hours. So as much as you can give in a span of 4 hours. If you need to use it longer than 4 hours, that patient's really lucky. But if you do need to use it longer than 4 hours, you just need to get a new set of tubing and then start again. But you can give, I've given about 60 units to a patient. Is about the most that I've given to a patient with this machine in a couple of hours. So it'll just keep working for as long as you need it. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is set up the tubing. You don't want to prime first. A lot of people take the tubing out of the box. By the way, the box looks like this, and it actually has the instructions in the back. So if you forget everything that I've said in this 10-12 minute video, it's here in 4 steps. So the machine is actually very easy to set up. It's just that if you don't deal with it very often, you have to kind of remember the steps, and it looks kind of scary because it looks like it has arms or something. So you're gonna get the tubing, and you're gonna put the tubing in first. And I've already primed this one, but we're gonna pretend like it's not primed. And so to hook up the tubing, we're gonna follow the number steps that I showed you earlier. Of course, the 2 spikes go on the top, so that's how you know which one is the top and which one is the bottom on this thing. And you're gonna go to 1 first, which is right here, And the tubing in this case is gonna face that way, because if you have it faced this way, it's gonna kind of crumble up and kink. So you want to have the tubing facing this way so that it's facing kind of the middle of the machine, because your next step is going to be right below that. So you don't want to come around this way to the next step. You're going to go down to number 1 and then click it here and bring this down. That's number 2. And then remember, I said number 3 was this little piece. Well, to do that little piece right there, you have to line this up, but don't click it into this chamber. If you click it into that chamber first, you're probably gonna get an alarm when you turn it on. This little house thing right here, it's kind of tricky. You just push this button and it opens up, and you just push it in. Sometimes people are trying to pull it from there and figure it out. Literally, if you just push the button down, it'll kind of open by itself. So line this up right here, put your tubing in there, make sure it's all the way in, and then close your chamber door. You shouldn't feel any big resistance on that. And then, so that was number 3, and then number 4, you click it into place right there. There's a little divot right here in the machine. That's how you know that this is where this points to, and this should be kind of pointing right towards that little divot right there. All right, now, how do you prime this machine? So I like to prime it using this farther clamp right here, but you can use this clamp in the middle to kind of stop everything. It's just that this clamp to me is like the one that clamps everything, because I know it's the last piece in the machine. So I like to close that one first. Anytime that you are putting priming fluids into a pressure bag or the level 1 rapid infuser, you want to get all the air out of your bags. So to get the air out of your bags, what you're going to do, you're going to flip your bag upside down. You're going to spike the bag. Now remember, it's closed at the bottom, and both of these are going to be clamped, both of these to start with. I'm going to open the side that I want to get the air out on, and I'm going to open this bottom one. I'm going to let the air come out, and I'm going to clamp again, okay? Then just hook it back up here. Remember, at this point, we have not primed the tubing. We only got the air out of this bag. That's all we did. And we put about half of this little chamber full of water. We're going to do the same on this side. We're going to turn it upside down. Spike it, open the bottom, squeeze the air out, clamp it back, and fill the chamber about halfway. And you're gonna put it right in here. Now in here, there's a series of hooks, and I'll show you each hook is at a different height, so that if you get a bag, like a 500 ml bag or a bag of blood, they'll be hooked to a different hook depending on how high they are, so that this little piece right here does not get crimped. So you don't want the chamber crimped when you close the door. You want the tubing at that spot, because there's only a little area that it can go to. And then once you do that, you want to close the door and close this little safety latch right here. And we're going to do that on the other side also. And you shouldn't feel much resistance when you do that. There's just enough space for this to move a little bit. Okay, so now that you've gotten the air out, now we're going to prime the tubing. Now you're going to have air from here to here and from here to here. So I want to get rid of that air on both sides. I will tell you that even if you forget to do that step, the tubing has a safety feature right here. This little orange part is actually a little valve. It's a check valve that allows air to come out, but air does not go in. It's kind of like a snorkel. So if there's an air bubble, when it gets to here, it's going to float to the top and it's going to escape before it gets to the patient. You can actually use this safely without the air detector on there. That's just an extra little safety feature. But the snorkel really gets a lot of the air out. So if you have air intermittent in the tubing, once it gets to that point, it's going to get rid of that air, and you're just going to get fluid out of the tubing at the end. So we get the air out of here. Okay, remember this one's open, and now I'm going to just open one side and allow fluid just to get to the middle here. Okay, so I'll do that now. I'm going to open one side right here. It's not going to go anywhere because everything else is clamped. So I'm going to open at the bottom, allow that to go through, and close it. So now I primed that little piece. I'm going to do the same on this side. Remember, I'm clamped down here and I'm clamped here again. So now I open this side, I open the bottom. It's going to get that little bit of air out, and I clamp it again, clamp this one again. And now there's fluid on both sides, and now this is what we have to prime. It's just the last tubing. To prime this last tubing, I'm only gonna use one side. I'm not gonna open both bags. You actually don't ever want to open both bags on this machine. You wanna do one at a time. While one bag is infusing, you're gonna be getting the next one ready. So don't ever open both of them. If you're running blood on one side and you have fluid in the other and you turn them both on, your blood is gonna go into your bag of fluids. So you wanna make sure that you're only opening one at a time, getting the other one ready. Okay, so I'm gonna finish priming now. Make sure that, that this is open. One side is gonna open, and then I'm gonna open up my chamber down here until I see fluid coming out. Now I've already primed this one, so you're gonna see fluid coming out right away. But usually it just takes a second, and then once that's done, sorry, I have something on my phone. Once that's done, you might see an air bubble come out in the beginning, but once you see that initial little bit of air, this will get rid of the rest of the air right here. And if while you're infusing there happens to be a big bubble that escapes, this device will clamp on the tubing and it won't allow it to go any further because it'll detect an air bubble right there. And so it's just a safety feature to make sure we don't give an air embolus to the patient. Okay, so now we are primed and we're ready to infuse. We've put everything ready. We did our checks. We have the right fluids. We're gonna hit the green button right here. That is the on button. Make sure that you're plugged in. This does not have a battery. And you turn it on. You're gonna hear all the alarms at first, and then hopefully no alarms like just now. That means you're ready to go. The most common alarm that we are gonna get is the one down here in the air leak detector. And when you get that alarm, you're gonna turn it off. You're gonna open the little chamber back up. You're gonna take this off of there, line it up again so that there's no tension, because that tension is what makes that alarm go off. And close it back up and you should be ready to go. The other alarm that you might get is the one up here. This alarm is going to tell you that there's not enough water in the system. This is filled by Biomed, and it's distilled water. Don't go putting your water from your cup in here. And so this is low. This is going to sound an alarm. If there's any problems with the temperature, it's going to sound this alarm. And if there's something wrong with this aluminum tube right here, it's going to give you that alarm. That one is rare. It usually means that there's something wrong. Also, you're gonna see a temperature gauge right here, and that'll let you know, that you're infusing warm fluids to the patient. So once you have everything primed and you don't have any alarms, you're ready to go. And again, you're gonna do one side at a time, never two sides. This is really a one-person machine. If you have a patient, you should have a second person using this machine. You shouldn't be dealing with your patient if they truly need rapid infusion. This is a one-person machine. So then we're going to make sure that one side is open only, and we're gonna turn on the pressure up here. There's a little lever, turn it to the plus side. It's gonna inflate that chamber in there, and when I open my clamp, you're gonna see fluid coming out at a pretty fast rate. That's pretty fast. So you can infuse this on a patient. See what happens when I turn it off. Look at the pressure. Pressure builds up. It takes it just a second to build up. And once it's going pretty fast, if I turn it off, it turns off the pressure. Okay, so the gauge of the bore of the IV is really what's going to determine how fast the fluid goes. These patients need either, like I said, a cordis, or a big lumen, triple lumen IV, not the regular triple lumens that we use, or anything bigger than an 18 gauge. You can use an 18 gauge, it does work, but you want at least a 16 or a 14. If they truly need rapid infusion, you need big access. I think that's about all the main things on this machine. You do have to make sure that it's filled with water. And if you have any questions at all or any comments, please make sure you put them on the Facebook page or contact me or text me, and I'll answer them as we go. I'll bring this machine, the machine is down there. I'll be down there doing in-services throughout probably next week, and I'll go out to the freestandings and give you all an update so you can get your hands on it and actually prime it and turn it on and hear the alarms and all that. Hope it was helpful.